What's up, everybody? Kier Gomes here, and welcome back. In today's episode, we are going to be talking about a deck that I have a very personal connection with, and I say that because not only was it designed by one of my good friends and the designer of my playing cards, Nick Nisco, it's also a deck that crushed Kickstarter in the very first day it got funded. So it's also a deck that I made the trailer for. I not only had some of my own footage in it, but I also edited and clipped together other people's footage. So I got to kind of produce the trailer for this deck, which hopefully has something to do with why it was so successful on Kickstarter. But probably not. It probably just got funded because it's an awesome deck. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Oxygen deck by Elemental Playing Cards. Before we get started, please do drop a like on this video and subscribe if you haven't already. Without further ado, intro.
Let's go.
All right, now this is the prototype for the Oxygen deck. So I'll talk a little bit about the changes you can expect when this deck goes to print with the USPCC. But I also want to say thank you to Nick for sending me the prototype for this deck so that I can help you with the trailer and some of the promotional shots. I know that the finished product is going to look amazing, and I cannot wait to see it. Just a quick overview, if you're not familiar with Elemental Playing Cards, they had the recent release of the H deck, or the Hydrogen deck, which was the first release under Elemental Playing Cards. I also did the trailer for this Kickstarter campaign. So there's your history lesson. Let's take a look at the cards. Similar to the Hydrogen deck, the H deck features a glossy white cardstock tuck box with a blue ring around it. And the blue circle is actually not made of one solid thick line. It's actually a series of solid thin lines that make that up. It has the O in the center for Oxygen, and it says Oxygen just below it. Now, when this deck gets printed by the USPCC, all of the blue that you see on the back design and the tuck box will be done in metallic ink. So it's gonna look a lot more like the Papilio deck, which I reviewed on Way Back Wednesday a couple months ago. Both sides of the deck say Elemental Playing Cards with kind of this like Dr. Manhattan Oxygen atom. The bottom will have some ad copy about the deck. The top says Oxygen. And the back design is the periodic table tile for Oxygen, including the atomic weight of Oxygen. Pretty fresh, I really like that. As well, you'll see it, you get a quote, just like you did on the H deck on the inside of the Oxygen deck. All right, so that was it for the tuck box. Let's take a look at the cards. Now this prototype actually feels really, really good. It was printed on the new MPC linen finish with the beta cardstock, and it feels very similar to like a Cartamundi True Linen B9. So it fans really well. The cards handle great. This is a deck that I could use regularly. So definitely doesn't even feel like a prototype. It feels like the real thing. Your back design looks like this. You get a nice medium-sized white border with kind of some thinner outer borders done in blue. As well, you can see it has kind of a casino style aesthetic on the back. I really like the dots in the corners and sides of the back of the deck. It looks really cool in fan, which adds some texture to the deck. Also, I love the blue. So when that's done in metallic, it'll actually look a little bit more like this. This is the Papilio deck. This is the older deck by Murphy's, but that's pretty much what the ink is gonna look like. It's gonna be that nice metallic blue, which I think will also make it a little bit easier to photograph. This deck, the blue is so light that it's kind of difficult. Now, in comparison to the Hydrogen deck, this is a totally different design. It wasn't just a color swap or a letter swap from H to O. It was a full new design, and I really appreciate that because if you're doing a series of decks, you want each deck to be different, not just a single design with multiple different colors. Although I'm not against that, I think though that in terms of creativity, this was a really smart move. For Ace of Spades, it looks like this. You get a nice enlarged spade pip, again, very casino style, and it has the Oxygen molecule or atom there in the middle. It does have standard indices, which I really appreciate. And you can see below the spade pip, it says Oxygen, atomic mass 15.9994, and then has the elemental emblem at the bottom. That's a dope Ace of Spades. One thing I really like is even though the back design has changed, the Ace of Spades is very reminiscent of the Hydrogen deck, and I really like that because that makes it more cohesive as a series. Love it, good idea. And again, similar to the Slow Hands and the Hydrogen deck, you're getting two hand-drawn jokers by Nick Nisco. Nick is an excellent artist. He can illustrate anything. He's very, very talented. He won't admit it, but you can tell by his work that he's very good. And these jokers almost look identical, but they are not. They say Joker in each corner, and one of them says, "Just breathe." And you can see this is kind of a Houdini style. It's a magician in a straitjacket upside down in a water tank. I really like that. I believe Nick is actually selling the original drawing of this on his Kickstarter. So if this is some art that you'd be interested in, like I for sure would love that, buy it for me. or buy it for yourself. The other Joker is very similar, only instead of saying "just breathe," it says "just respire." Those have to be two of my favorite Jokers. They definitely remind me of like a David Blaine style aesthetic, which I love. David Blaine always has great Jokers, and I really like the hand-drawn look. All right, now in terms of ad cards and gaff cards, with the prototype, we got a double backer, which will be included in the actual deck when it goes to print. And I believe the deck will also include a duplicate 2 of Hearts, which is great. If you have a double backer and a duplicate, you have built-in ambitious card routines for days. So, very nice. The faces of this deck are sort of standard. They do have some awesome customization on them, so let's get into that. One thing you'll notice is for the numbered cards, they are pretty much bicycle standard. It looks like on this prototype the red has been muted down a little bit, but I don't know if that's actually going to be reflected on the real deck. But everything from the shapes, the colors, the indices, and the pips themselves are completely bicycle standard on the number face cards. Now the customization on the quartz, the first thing that you might notice is the color swapping to be only blue and yellow. Now this blue will look a little bit better, and this yellow will be a little bit brighter and a little bit less mustard yellow on the real thing. But you can also notice that some of the details have been pretty simplified down, which I really like. Kind of gives it that smoke and mirrors essence. And some of the quartz can be found holding custom items that pertain to oxygen. In this example, the King of Hearts is holding a Zippo lighter. The Jack of Hearts is wearing an oxygen mask. You can see the King of Clubs is holding a torch. The Queen of Spades is holding a 3 of Spades reveal, which is great for magic. Jack of Spades is wearing a personal oxygen tank. The King of Diamonds has a Bunsen burner. Queens are holding flowers, which of course has a direct relation to oxygen. The Jack of Clubs is holding an oxygen tank, and so on and so forth. You get the idea. Tons of cool customization on these core cards. I really, really appreciate that. All right, now that's how the deck looks, and instead of talking about the handling, this is not the finished product, but I do want to show you guys a little bit about what the cards look like in movement. So I'm just going to insert a quick B-roll sequence so you can see that now.
This is Mixla Production.
Well guys, thank you so much for watching today's episode and my review of the Oxygen deck by Elemental Playing Cards, designed by Nick Nisco. Now, this deck has been crushing it on Kickstarter, but the good news is it is still available, so if you haven't backed this project on Kickstarter yet, I will leave that link below. I would highly recommend it. I think it says something that it's already received twice the amount of funding that we were hoping for, and I think that that has a lot to do with how great this deck is really going to look for you. So if you haven't yet, please go to the Kickstarter, check out the campaign, and if you like it, back it. Another big shout out to my good man Nick. Not only are you a very talented designer, not just of the Elemental decks, but also of the Slow Hands deck, but you're a great friend, and I really appreciate you. Great job with the Kickstarter, buddy. All right, everybody, hopefully this video was enough to get you to like the video if you did, and I hope you'll consider subscribing if you haven't already. With all that being said, I hope everybody has a wonderful rest of their day. I know I will. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.